The Andarian Nebula was a dangerous myth among star explorers, a vast whirlpool of unstable matter and gravitational anomalies that had swallowed hundreds of ships over the centuries. However, for the renegade scientist Dr. Elias Vorn, it was the final piece of a puzzle he had pursued his entire life. Standing on the bridge of the ship Catalyst, he watched the nebulous layers swirl like a galactic storm while his crew prepared for the final jump. "There lies the answer to everything," he said in an almost reverent tone. His obsession with discovering what lay inside the nebula was so strong that no warning, no matter how dire, could stop him. Beside him stood Kara Soren, a former cyborg soldier, adjusting her prosthetics with calculated movements. Kara had seen what unchecked curiosity could do to a crew, and to herself. "I hope whatever you're looking for is worth it," she muttered, her eyes never leaving her adjustments. Further back, Linus, the chief engineer, was surrounded by holograms of systems and floating tools, his face laden with worry. This ship wasn't built to survive a gravitational storm of this magnitude, he complained, while Ro, the ship's android, calmly corrected, "Probability of success. 18%. Acceptable margin, considering Dr. Vorn's track record." When the catalyst finally breached the gravitational barrier of the nebula, the crew froze at the sight before them. Floating at the center of the chaos was a colossal structure, formed by translucent towers pulsating with a golden and blue glow. It was as if the very matter was alive, constantly reshaping itself into impossible angles. Vorn was mesmerized. "It's grander than I imagined." A bridge between realities, Kara, however, was uneasy. "It doesn't look like a bridge. It looks like a trap." Ro analyzed the structure. Energetic anomalies detected. "This place defies known laws of physics." As the ship drew closer, the structure began emitting an energy pulse that shook the catalyst systems. Alarms blared throughout the ship. "We're being scanned," reported Ro. Linus panicked. "This isn't good." "I knew this was a terrible idea." Vorn, however, seemed even more determined. "If it's scanning us, it means we're being acknowledged. It's a security system. We have to press on." Before they could decide, a hologram formed on the ship's bridge, a humanoid figure made of pure light. Its voice echoed throughout the cabin. "You have crossed a forbidden threshold. Prepare to face the consequences." The luminous figure vanished as quickly as it appeared, but its presence left a heavy silence on the bridge. "That's a warning," Kara said firmly. Vorn shook his head, almost indignantly. "That's a greeting. This structure wants us to understand it." Linus began adjusting the ship systems to retreat, but the controls wouldn't respond. "We're trapped here," he shouted. Ro confirmed, in his usual calm tone. "Gravitational pulse from the structure is blocking all escape routes. I recommend investigating the core to neutralize the field." Kara shot Vorn a piercing glare. "Well, genius. It seems your curiosity is going to get us killed." Vorn took a deep breath. "Or save us." The catalyst hovered in orbit around the structure as the crew struggled to regain control of the ship. Ro finally pinpointed an opening at the base of one of the towers. Entrance identified. Coordinates transferred to the console. Kara shot Vorn a distrustful look. "If this is a trap, just know I'll make sure you're the first to fall." Linus interrupted. "We're about to descend into a place that just warned us to stay away. Does that sound logical to anyone?" Vorn responded with his typical determination. "If there's a warning, it means there's something worth finding." The team descended in a small pod to the entrance. When they stepped onto the structure's surface, the ground seemed to pulse beneath their feet, as if it were alive. "This is not normal," Linus said, adjusting a portable scanner. "The material has properties that change in real time." Kara, weapon at the ready, scanned her surroundings attentively. "It's like a nightmare made of glass." Vorn, however, was fascinated. He rushed to the walls, where inscriptions glowed with a golden light. "This is language, a communication system." Ro began decoding the patterns. "It's an interface, an invitation to interact." When Ro touched one of the inscriptions, the structure reacted. The ground split open, revealing a corridor that seemed to descend endlessly. At the bottom, a pulsating glow beckoned them. "I hate this," Linus muttered, following the group. As they advanced, the surrounding temperature fluctuated, now hot, now cold. Indistinct sounds echoed through the walls, like whispers. "Is anyone else hearing that?" Kara asked. Ro replied, "The environment is emitting sound frequencies that seem to adjust to each individual's emotional state." Linus groaned, "Great place that reads our minds. This just gets better." When they reached the end of the corridor, they found a colossal chamber. At its center, an energy core floated, slowly spinning. It seemed to contain stars, galaxies, and something more, something alive. Vorn stepped forward, mesmerized. "This is the heart of the structure. This is where realities intersect." Kara yanked him back. "And this is where we die if you don't stop running around like an idiot." Ro began collecting data. Energy flows indicate a dimensional overlap. This core is responsible for maintaining the balance between multiple realities. Before they could approach further, the luminous figure they had seen aboard the ship reappeared. "You have reached the threshold. This core must not be disturbed. Turn back now." Vorn tried to reason. "If it's here, it can be understood. We want to learn." The figure responded, its grave voice echoing through the chamber. "Knowledge comes with a price. This core is a prison, and opening its prison will destroy more than you can imagine." Kara raised her weapon. "If it's a prison, who's inside?" The figure hesitated before replying. "Something that should remain forgotten." The team was divided. Vorn was determined to interact with the core. "If this is a prison, we need to understand who built it and why. This could change everything we know about the multiverse." Kara, on the other hand, opposed the idea. "If they created this to keep something locked away, there's a reason. And it's not our job to open doors we don't understand." Linus stayed silent, too nervous to take a side, while Ro analyzed the data coolly. Disturbing the core could cause dimensional collapse. However, the systems indicate it's already unstable. Vorn approached the core, but before he could touch it, the chamber began to tremble. "It's reacting to our presence," Ro shouted. The luminous figure disappeared, leaving one final warning. "You have little time. Choose wisely." The core began emitting energy pulses that cracked the floor beneath them. "We're about to be crushed here," Linus yelled. Vorn looked at Kara, torn between his curiosity and the urgency to survive. "If we don't act now, all of this will be lost." Kara grabbed his arm. "And if we act recklessly, it'll be the end of everything." The chamber trembled uncontrollably as the core emitted increasingly intense energy pulses. The walls began to warp, as if melting. "This isn't just instability," Ro said, his voice calm despite the chaos. "The core is going into overload. If it continues, this place, and perhaps more, will be obliterated." Linus shouted, clutching his scanner, which squealed with alarming readings. "We need to get out of here now." Vorn, still mesmerized, stared at the core as though he couldn't look away. "If we leave without understanding this, we'll lose something that can never be found again." As the core pulsed, a figure began to form at its center, a formless being composed of pure energy. Its contours were unstable, but its eyes glowed with an intense purple light. "This is not possible," murmured Ro. "The entity inside the core is attempting to manifest." The figure's voice echoed throughout the chamber, a mix of agony and power. "You have broken the balance. You should not be here." Kara, weapon raised, stepped forward. "If we're the problem, then tell us how to fix it." The entity looked at Vorn and Kara, as if measuring their intentions. "I am the convergence of everything that was locked away here. This structure is a seal, a barrier to keep realities apart. You have disrupted it." Linus, nervous, asked, "And what happens if the seal breaks?" The entity replied, its voice booming like thunder, "Realities will merge into chaos. What you know as order will cease to exist." Vorn stepped forward. "But we can stabilize it, right? We can fix the core." The entity laughed, a distorted, chilling sound. "You are as arrogant as those who created me." Ro interrupted. The data confirms that the core can be stabilized. However, there is a complication. All eyes turn to him. Stabilization requires a significant energy sacrifice. One of us will need to remain connected to the core to neutralize it. Kara stared at him, incredulous. You're saying someone has to die to save this? Linus began to back away. This is insane. We can't do this. Vorn, despite the dilemma, stood firm. If it's necessary, I'll do it. This is the greatest discovery of our existence. We can't just let it crumble. As the team argued, the core released a wave of energy that knocked everyone to the ground. The entity spoke again. You cannot succeed without paying the price. This structure demands balance. Kara helped Linus to his feet as Ro began interfacing with the core. My interface is the most compatible to stabilize the system. My chances of survival are negligible, but my efficiency is greater than any human's. Kara grabbed the android's arm. You're not sacrificing yourself for something we're not even sure is worth it. Ro responded, my purpose is to preserve balance. This is the only logical option. Before Ro could connect, the luminous figure of the Guardian reappeared, now more solid and determined. You do not understand what you are doing. This core was not meant to be stabilized. It was meant to be destroyed. Vorn protested. If we destroy it, we lose the greatest breakthrough in history. This could change everything. The Guardian pointed at him, her voice turning cold. Your selfishness has caused enough harm already. If you do not destroy this core, the consequences will be irreversible. The tension was palpable as the team stood divided. Vorn wanted to stabilize it. Kara and Linus leaned toward destruction. Ro was torn between logic and loyalty. The core began collapsing rapidly, forcing the team to make a decision. We're running out of time, Kara shouted, clutching her weapon as if it could shield her from the inevitable. Vorn looked at the core, then at his team. If we destroy this, we lose everything. All the knowledge, all the progress we could achieve. Kara shot back, her eyes filled with frustration. And if we don't destroy it, we could lose everything anyway, including our lives. Linus, trembling, added, maybe whatever is in here wasn't meant to be understood. The Guardian looked at them one last time. Choose, but know that every choice comes with a cost. With the core on the brink of collapse, Kara took the lead. If we don't act, we all die. This has gone too far. She turned to Ro. Can you access the controls to initiate the destruction sequence? Vorn interrupted, his voice desperate. You can't do this. You don't understand what we're about to destroy. Linus, exhausted and terrified, stood by Kara. Maybe we'll never understand, Vorn. But this isn't about curiosity. It's about survival. The core unleashed another wave of energy, forcing everyone to cling to the chamber walls. A decision had to be made quickly. As Ro worked on the controls, the core reacted unexpectedly. It began projecting holographic images across the chamber, showing fragments of alternate realities. In one, the structure lay in ruins, with entire worlds consumed by the void. In another, the core glowed in perfect stability, but at the cost of planets and lives sacrificed to sustain it. It's showing us the consequences of our choices, Ro said as he adjusted his calculations. Kara watched the images, her heart heavy. No matter what we do, someone will pay the price. Amid the projections, the core's energy figure began manifesting again. You are toying with forces you cannot comprehend. My purpose is to transcend the limits that were imposed. You can set me free, or destroy me. Its voice was both an invitation and a threat. Vorn seemed mesmerized. If we free it, it could show us what lies beyond our realities. This is the next step in evolution. Kara pulled him back to reality. Or it destroys everything we know. That's not evolution. It's annihilation. Ro finally completed his analysis. I can initiate the destruction sequence or attempt to stabilize the core. But either option requires a permanent interface with the system. Linus turned pale. You mean, someone has to sacrifice themselves? Ro confirmed. My functionality is the most compatible. My loss will have the least impact. Vorn immediately protested. No, Ro, you're essential to understanding this. If someone has to stay, it should be me. Kara placed a hand on Vorn's shoulder. I'm not letting you decide this alone. This is bigger than all of us. The Guardian reappeared, now looking weaker, as though the core was draining her energy. You don't understand. Any choice you make will have repercussions beyond what you can imagine. She looked directly at Ro. You are the key to saving the balance. But even that won't be enough to prevent complete chaos. Ro hesitated for the first time but finally nodded. I will do what is necessary. He walked toward the core and began integrating with the controls. Initiating destruction sequence. Awaiting final confirmation, the core entered a critical state as Ro struggled to maintain control. Destruction sequence at 90%. Evacuate now. Kara grabbed Vorn, who was reluctant to leave. He made his choice. Now we have to survive, so it means something. Linus was already running toward the exit, muttering to himself, never again, never again. The Guardian gave one last look at the core before disintegrating into particles of light. You've done what was necessary. Now go. The team ran back to the catalyst as the chamber collapsed around them. The entire structure seemed to be imploding, being pulled into the dimensional void it had sustained. When they finally launched, one last pulse of energy rippled through space, and the core vanished in a silent explosion of light. On the ship's bridge, everyone was silent. Vorn stared at the void where the structure had been, his eyes filled with regret. We didn't save anything. We just destroyed what we didn't understand. Kara responded, her voice firm. Maybe, but at least the rest of the universe is still here. The catalyst floated silently in the void as the crew tried to process what had just happened. Linus was at the engineering console, assessing the damage. We've lost 40% of the main systems. Propulsion is functional, but barely. He looked over at Kara and Vorn, who sat silently in the command room. So what's the plan? Because honestly, I just want to go home and pretend none of this ever happened. Kara let out a heavy sigh, her eyes fixed on the holographic screen showing the emptiness outside. There's no pretending. We lost Ro, and almost lost everything. Vorn, who usually had a response for everything, was quiet. Ro's sacrifice seemed to have left a void not just in the ship systems, but in the team's morale as well. He wasn't just an android, Vorn finally said, breaking the silence. He was more than that. He understood. He saw what we couldn't. Kara looked at him with a hardened expression. And he did what none of us had the courage to do. But you need to stop idealizing this, Vorn. He sacrificed himself to give us a chance to move forward. Don't waste it. As Linus worked on the systems, an alert sounded on the bridge. What now? He muttered, checking the panels. A coded message appeared, sent from within the structure moments before its collapse. It's from Ro, Linus said, his eyes wide. The message contained a data packet, which Vorn quickly began deciphering. He left something for us, a kind of map or record. The information displayed a set of coordinates and energy patterns similar to those of the core. It's like he's telling us where to go next, Vorn said, already excited by the discovery. Kara immediately stepped in. Hold on. We're all on the brink of physical and mental collapse, and you already want to drag us into another suicide mission? Isn't what we just went through enough? Vorn turned to her, his determination renewed. If Ro thought this was important enough to leave us before he departed, then we can't ignore it. Linus shook his head. Or maybe he was warning us to stay away from it. Did you ever think of that? The debate grew heated, but deep down, they all knew their path was already set. As they argued, the ship sensors detected an approaching energy signature. We've got company, Linus said, activating the monitors. An unknown ship was closing in fast, its design resembling the mutable material of the structure they had just destroyed. They've come after us, Kara said, readying the defense systems. Vorn kept his eyes on the screen. They know we were there, and they want whatever it is that Ro left us. The alert turned red as the enemy ship began charging its weapons. The catalyst, still damaged, was in no condition for a fight. We have to jump, Linus said, trying to calculate coordinates. But the navigation systems are still unstable. Kara took control of the ship, attempting to evade the enemy's fire. If they catch us, we're done. Linus, make it work. Vorn, meanwhile, clutched Ro's data packet like it was the key to their survival. We can't lose this. It's our only lead to understanding what happened. With the enemy's weapons charging for a final strike, Linus finally managed to activate the jump system. I hope Ro's coordinates are safe, because that's where we're going, he said, sweating as he pressed the button to initiate the jump. The catalyst disappeared into hyperspace moments before the enemy's shot could hit them. Silence returned to the bridge, but no one felt secure. Where are we going? Kara asked, looking at Vorn. He glanced at the data in his hand, his expression grim. To where Ro wanted us to go. And I think we're about to uncover something much bigger than we ever imagined. The hyperspace jump ended abruptly, and the catalyst emerged into an unknown region of space. Unlike the void they had been in before, this sector was filled with a tangled web of lights and energy patterns, as if the very fabric of space had been torn and patched together. What is this? Linus asked, staring at the monitors in disbelief. Ro had left coordinates for a place that shouldn't exist, a point of convergence between realities. It's what remains of something greater, Vorn said with reverence. Ro knew this would be important. At the center of the sector stood another structure, smaller than the previous one but equally alien. It emitted energy pulses similar to those of the core they had destroyed. Kara frowned. Don't tell me this is another portal about to collapse. Vorn shook his head. No, this is different. It looks incomplete. As the ship approached, the systems began to register energy signatures that defied explanation. This isn't just a piece of technology, Vorn said, analyzing the data. It's a message left in the form of a structure. The team disembarked, with Vorn leading the way to the structure. It appeared partially damaged but still functional. Linus began working on the controls, while Kara stood guard, scanning the surroundings with suspicion. Does anyone else feel like we're being watched? She asked. Vorn was more focused on the glowing inscriptions on the walls. This has been here for a long time, but it still responds to stimuli. It's as if it's been waiting for someone, or something. Linus finally managed to decode part of the system. These are data fragments. It looks like it was left here to guide us. As the team accessed the data, a hologram projected itself into the center of the room, a recording of Ro. If you're seeing this, it means my mission is complete. The original core was just one piece of something greater, a system designed to contain what lies beyond our understanding. But those who built it made a mistake. They thought they could control infinity, and they failed. The hologram of Ro seemed to look directly at them, as if it knew exactly how they felt. You have a choice. Move forward and seek the answers, or turn back and let this secret die here. Kara was silent for a moment, absorbing Ro's words. He knew we'd be here. He knew we wouldn't be able to stop. Vorn nodded, resolute. This isn't just about curiosity. It's about responsibility. If we don't understand what's happening, no one else will. Linus shook his head, exasperated. You're insane. We just escaped a catastrophe, and now you want to dive headfirst into another. Kara looked at him firmly. If it means protecting what's left, we don't have a choice. As they argued, the structure began emitting new light patterns, and the environment around them shifted. The room they were in was replaced by a projection of a universe. Stars being born and dying, realities colliding and splitting apart. This is what we're dealing with, Vorn said in awe. A system that regulates the multiverse itself. Then, a new voice echoed through the room, deep and reverberating. You have come far. But are you prepared for what comes next? The figure that appeared was not a machine but something organic. A being that seemed to exist between dimensions, with eyes that shone like galaxies. The entity gazed at each of them, as if evaluating their worth. You destroyed the core, but that was only the beginning. The balance has been restored for now, but the forces you faced are reorganizing. If you choose to continue, you will become part of something much greater and far more dangerous. Vorn stepped forward without hesitation. "We're ready." Kara glanced at him, then at the entity. "I hope you're right about this." Linus, though hesitant, knew he couldn't turn back alone. "I'm probably going to regret this." The entity disappeared, and the structure began displaying new coordinates. "Here we go again," Kara said as the team returned to the ship, ready for the next leap into the unknown. The catalyst was silent as the crew processed the recent events. Kara stood in the command room, gazing at the stars on the horizon. "It seems like every answer we find only brings more questions," she said, almost to herself. Vorn, seated nearby, was staring at the data left by Ro, reflecting on what they had learned. "This isn't just science. It's the survival of something greater than us. We're dealing with forces we can't control, but we can't ignore." Linus walked into the room, exhausted but with his trademark sarcastic tone intact. "So what's the brilliant plan now? Follow another alien map and almost die again? Because I'm seeing a pattern here." Kara responded with a tired smile. "You can complain all you want, Linus, but you know we're not stopping. Not after all this." Vorn added, "Ro showed us what's at stake. We're not just exploring. We're protecting something we didn't even know existed." Linus rolled his eyes, but deep down, he knew they were right. As the ship moved toward the new coordinates, a final recording from Ro was discovered in the systems. "You're following a path that few would dare to take. Every choice you make will be a step toward preserving or destroying the balance. Remember, knowledge is a weapon. Use it wisely." Ro's voice echoed through the room, leaving the crew in silence. Kara broke the moment. "He knew we'd follow. He knew we wouldn't give up." Vorn looked at her, his expression serious. "And that's why we need to honor his sacrifice." As they approached the new coordinates, the catalyst detected a familiar energy signature. This isn't possible," Linus said, staring at the monitors. The data indicated traces of the destroyed core, but with an altered signature. "It's like a part of it is still active," Vorn explained. Kara frowned. "You think that thing survived?" Vorn didn't respond immediately. Maybe it wasn't just a prison. Maybe it was a seed for something greater. His words lingered in the air as the glow of the coordinates became visible in the distance. Kara took the controls, guiding the ship toward the unknown once more. "If this is what we have to do, then let's do it right. But we can't make another mistake." Linus, still nervous, muttered, "Please, let's try not to trigger another dimensional apocalypse." Vorn, holding the data left by Ro, looked out at the stellar horizon. "What we're about to discover could change everything. But this time, we're ready for whatever comes." The catalyst accelerated toward the new coordinates, disappearing into hyperspace, as the universe, once again, awaited their choices.